My name is Nanikia Mensah Bramper. Starting with the Institute of Fiscal Studies has warned any attempt by the Akufo Addo government to truncate the ongoing IMF program to the country's already weak economy. The Institute is of the view the best solution will be to renegotiate the agreement, a position already touted by the government.
Addressing journalists at the Alisa Hotel as part of a series of engagements and study by the Institute to support economic policy by the new government, the IFS described the Ghanaian economy as volatile. According to the Institute, government was unable to meet any of its macroeconomic targets for 2016. The country's public debt currently stands at 112 billion cedis, with interest payments far exceeding capital expenditure. Professor Newman Kusi is executive director of the Institute.
Between 2009 and 2012, inflation was brought down on the single digit for 33 consecutive months. Look at that period when inflation was that. Look at interest rates. Look at the exchange rate, and compare it to what is happening here.
The country has witnessed a decline in growth rates mainly as a result of the over-reliance on primary commodity exports, whose prices are largely determined on the world market. The IFS proposed 10 economic policy priorities.
Policy credibility, and to them they think that if you have a program with the IMF, then your policies will be credible, because even if you falter or you're unable to meet the target, you go back and try to promise that you do it and go ahead and do it. So at least you must carry through, the program.
And following the increase in fuel prices, transport fares are expected to go up soon. But the General Secretary of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union says they are unable to adjust fares because of the absence of a substantive transport minister. He explains the recent increase in fuel prices and other factors have necessitated the fare increase.
Oil marketing companies increased fuel prices by up to 11% early this month, being the first window for adjustment per the deregulation policy. This saw a litre of petrol selling for about 4 cedis 20 pesos and diesel for 3 cedis 98 pesos. Some transport operators say they are eagerly expecting the Ghana Private Transport Operators Union (GPRTU) to soon announce an increase in fares.
We are waiting for our elders from our regional secretariat to tell us something before the increment will come on. And then if it happens that way too, it is disturbing us, because what we are going to give the cowness is the same, but we are going to use our daily bread money to pay for the fuel.
The GPRTU by law is expected to review fares every 6 months or when necessary. Though the period for adjustment is due, and considering OMCs have increased prices above the 10% threshold used by the GPRTU in determining fare prices, the General Secretary of the GPRTU, Issa Khalifa, says the union is handicapped because there is no substantive transport minister.
If there's an increase of fuel prices up to 10%, or there's a decrease of fuel prices up to 10%, we sit and review the fares. But at the moment, we don't have a sector minister. It's only a chief director that's around. And it's always the sector minister that presides over the review of the fares. So as soon as the minister is vetted and appointed, we will rush to him and ask him for a meeting of the review of the fares.
The General Secretary, who initially declined to speak on the matter for purposes of avoiding misrepresentation of the union's position by the public, also says Ghana needs the reduction of taxes on petroleum products as promised by President Nana Akufo Addo during his campaign. Meanwhile, Kweku Ofori-Esiama has been nominated as Transport Minister Designate, awaiting voting by Parliament.
Let's look at some more business news this evening. And 3 countries are partnering Ghana to manufacture and export nuclear energy to neighboring West African countries. This follows ratification of 3 of the International Atomic Energy Agency's outstanding conventions.
In 1964, Ghana's first president, Asiedu Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, proposed the construction of nuclear energy plant to augment the country's hydro energy power source. But the idea was not followed through after his overthrow. And 10 years ago, however, the country's power situation deteriorated beyond measure. A senior professor at the University of Ghana School of Applied Nuclear Physics, Professor Benjamin Nyakon, blamed the situation on political negligence.
Most of the stoppage to that project is political. The NLC came as presented, and then they called Sir John Cockcroft, and he told us that we are not ready for such a project, so we have to abandon it till 2007.
Phase 1 of the Ghana nuclear power program brought together international nuclear energy experts and their Ghanaian counterparts under the international peer review system to assess the country's progress of preparedness. The Phase 1 also includes the ratification of 3 conventions prior to assessment and approval of construction of the project. As part of the collaboration, China, Russia and South Korea have agreed to provide more than 80% of the funding for the $6 billion project, which is expected to be completed in 2029. Director General of the National Development Planning Commission, Dr. Moy Thompson, believes Ghana's choice of nuclear energy is the best alternative.
Besides assurances of safety, there are other compelling reasons why nuclear should be part of the future energy mix. In addition to its capacity for generating the baseload electricity to drive industry, nuclear power is also highly environmentally friendly.
Japan, South Korea, Ukraine, Britain and the United States are some of the countries that have operated nuclear energy and had recorded disasters in the past. But Dr. Moy Thompson affirms the country has put in place safety measures.
The public would be uneasy about the option of nuclear energy because of what has happened elsewhere. So we'll do our best to make sure that the accidents never happen at all.
The second phase, which has to do with the construction of the physical facility, will begin next year.
All right, just before I wrap up on business tonight, let's quickly move to the commodities market to look at the latest regarding the current price as well as news coming up. For gold, it's now standing at $1,213.05 there on the world market, seeing an increase of 0.86. Gold market not doing too good locally because we've had some countries rejecting Ghana's gold for reasons that there's child labor, some form of child labor there in the gold markets. But of course, the Chamber of Mines is looking at that particular issue, talking about strict adherence to those who have license to produce more gold to those countries I'm talking about. Now, to a price of cocoa on the world market, $2,243 per metric ton on the world markets. Definitely prices inching up there, 1.36%. Also locally for cocoa, we're waiting to see who would take over that CEO position of Cocoa Board to know how the market would look like. Already farmers are anticipating some great gains there for the harvesting period of cocoa there on the markets. I'm sure definitely something good will come out of it as economists and some analysts continue to project that it is good days for cocoa on the world market as well as locally here for us. Let me quickly wrap up with the price of oil. A barrel of oil on the world market now at $56.10 per barrel. 0.43% is the price change, showing a sign that it is increasing. Now, with fuel prices moving between 2 to 10% here in the country, well, COPEC has projected that we are likely to see more increases in the next 2 weeks, if I should say, should prices move higher to at least or at most $60 a barrel. What is the incoming government doing about the prices? COPEC is still in discussions, and we would be looking at that later and giving you more on it. But that will do for business now. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa.